Okay, now that I've mentioned my mom, I thought maybe I should talk about my sister, the one my mom has quarreled with for ever since I can remember. Um, I've said that those two have always butt heads, and each of them had to be right. Um, I'm not really sure where to start with about my sister. I guess I could start with some traits that would occur when we were kids. I mean, she already showed signs of being deceptive. Uh, you know, I would remember, sometimes she would do something wrong and she'd get caught, and then she would lie and say I had done it and not her. Uh, and I was not a liar growing up, and I hardly disobeyed my parents, like hardly ever at all. One of the few occasions I can remember disobeying them was I was told to no longer watch Invader Zim, and admittedly, I just, when my dad was at work, we would go to work with him. I would sneak in the car and I would grab the little tiny black and white TV and I would tune it into Nickelodeon and watch Invader Zim. I know, very childish, but remember, I was a child. A child that didn't hardly ever disobey my parents, but that was one of the times I did. My sister, on the other hand, it was like anytime she got told no, it was immediately a challenge. She had to do it. She just had to. Uh, it's in cases like this where I kind of wonder if she was bipolar. She does show signs of it. And did show signs of it. This does not mean I think that bipolar people are horrible or bad. I don't think they are. I think they have a condition that they have to learn to balance and try to find some peace in their life with. Um, just as anybody does. um, so yeah, I'm not saying bipolar is a terrible bad thing. Though I do think everybody does have a choice of character. Um, so that being said, I do not think a disability can keep you from being a good person. I do think if you're not being friendly, I do think that's a choice. I don't think that has to do with bipolar or anything. I know a lot of bipolar. I have some friends with bipolar, and they're very intelligent and they're very good people. Um, so I don't give bipolar as an excuse to anybody, but all the same, I understand it is a disability, and I understand that it, gives some um, problems that you have to overcome. So I understand that. Um, my sister, when she was told no on something, she had to defy it. um, I remember when we were younger, uh, she actually stole a ring pop once. To my knowledge, that wasn't the only time or first time or maybe the first time. I don't know. We're so little. I don't even think my baby sister was born yet. It was just her and me at that time. She asked my mom for a ring pop, and my mom told her no. And we got to the car, and she pulls out the ring pop and shows me. And I, immediately being a kid that's so scared of doing anything wrong, immediately is like scared of getting in trouble for seeing this and not saying anything. I'm like, Mom! Clearly that made my sister mad at me. um, but yeah. And no offense, I wouldn't be surprised if she's still to this day. Last time I saw her, it was just, I know her, she would not buy anything used, even if it looks cute, she won't do it. I remember us growing up, like when we were teenagers, she had to demand to have the nicer, cool clothes, and she could not have the generic brand. It was not happening. I still remember the arguments and near fit her mom would have with each other in the store until my mom would eventually just cave and be like, fine. And she would get my sister like maybe one pair of pants because, their parents, they're not made of money. Um, so if she wants a name brand, it would only be able to afford one pair of pants rather than two or three in a generic brand. I and my baby sister, though, and my brother never seemed to mind wearing what we were bought. We were just grateful to have clothes. Um, but my sister, she was very demanding. She had to have the cool looking clothes. And she would deny that it was because that she was afraid that others would think she looked hideous or something, but you could just see and know she was just scared of not looking cool or not being one of the cool kids, and she had to have the cool clothes. She had to have a name brand. She could not just have something generic because it won't be as cool because it's generic. Um, and I remember when we were growing up, um, honestly, her and my mom just butted heads. Um, I'm not really sure how else to put that. I remember when there was a few times mom would let me and my sister walk off and into the, and walk in the store and walk around. I'd have to call us every 5 minutes. um, Me being the obedient one, didn't mind calling every 5 minutes and, doing my duty as the and being a good child. My sister, on the other hand, hated it and would defy it. She wouldn't call mom, and I'm not really sure why. I mean, other than, like I said, they butted heads and they had to prove each other wrong all the time and had to be right. Mom wanted to be called and thought it was right, and my sister thought that she should have a right to just walk without calling all the time. So that's what she would do. Um, until I annoyed her and, you know, to where she would finally call mom and let her know that we were safe. And uh yeah, because that's all my mom wanted was to call and say we were safe. um Even though we were all in the same building and same store together. um yeah, trying to think of more things like how those two would butt heads and just had to be right all the time. There were some times too that I remember that she would do things and we would be like, "Hey, mom, dad said don't do that," and she's like, "Well, they're not here, so it's okay to do it now." Um, yeah, so I'm not really sure how else to put that other than if she was told no about it, she had to defy it, and she would defy it. Um, it wasn't a question of maybe she would or wouldn't. She was going to. Then as we reached adult age and she finally reached what was legal adult age, she left the house around 19 years old. So um, she was just pretty much young. She was a legal adult. And that's when the relationship between her and my mom got at its worst. It was, I mean, every day mom yelling at her because she needs to do the dishes more, she needs to sweep the floor more, she needs to clean the house more, because that's what a good housewife does. And if she wants to be a good wife one day, then she needs to do these things. And my sister would get so angry, and she's like, "I'm the only one that does clean the house." Or, well, she didn't say the only one because she wasn't, but she would say, like, "I'm the one that does most of the work. Why don't you get onto one of them?" And my mom would reply, "Well, maybe that's because I see more potential in you." I don't believe that for a second, though. To be honest, I think my mom was angry, and it was one of her manipulative ways of trying to get back at my sister for not agreeing with her and thinking that women should be equal to men and they both should clean the house and they both should have a job. This would piss my mom off. She felt women belonged at home to take care of the kids in the house and believed that men belonged at work to earn money to provide for the family. Um, and so, I think when she was getting on to my sister about doing all these chores and more on her than any of us, it was not because she thought there was more potential in my sisters, because she was angry, she disagreed with her, and she had to, in a sense, be manipulative, and in a sense, kind of uh, punish her, you might say, in a manipulative way. Um, like, well, you disagree with me, I'll show you, and I'll make sure you do more dishes until you agree with me that this is what a wife should do. Um, so it was pretty much every day like that. Um, until my sister got a boyfriend online. Then it just got worse. I mean, so much worse. My mom was pissed off that my sister was calling this man her boyfriend online that she hadn't met in person. And then she was mad that he hadn't come to meet us in person. And then my sister was mad that it seemed like things weren't going her way, so she left. She was getting down and ugly and dirty with everybody, and she left. And she went to go finally live in the same city and state as her boyfriend, and they got married. She did not talk with us for nearly a year, and then she came back and she was pregnant. Um, so yeah. As for the relationship between me and my sister, I can't say she never manipulated me. There was times, to be honest, she was actually very manipulative to me too. And there was times she was actually very hurtful to me too. But I can say between all my siblings and the family, she was the only one that was actually there for me sometimes when I really needed somebody. Um, there was times she was manipulative, and there was times she would say hurtful things to me, like, I only go this place to get away from you. Um, and she would say things that were really off the wall, like she helped raise me and our other two siblings, which was a load of bullshit. She did not help raise me. She did not help raise our other two siblings either. So, as for does she really believe in that, I don't know, but honestly, there's a lot of similarities between her and my mom. Um, I mean, clearly she couldn't go without the cool clothes. She had to have the cool looking clothes and the name brand, so she has the thing about having to have attention. Which was another thing I forgot to mention when we were growing up. Every boy there was, she would say, liked her or was looking at her. And if any of them were looking at me or my baby sister, she immediately would have to get their attention too. So, um, it's not that every guy really was looking at her, but she would say, and it seemed like every guy that existed, she was saying, was looking at her. And I wish I was exaggerating that, but I'm not kidding. It was like, oh, this guy's looking at me. Oh, this guy's looking at me. Oh, this guy's looking at me. And if me or the baby sister were to say, like, do you think this one might be looking at us? She'd be like, oh, no, no, no. He's looking at me. So, she really did have this thing about having to have attention and having to be the one with all the attention. Like, you weren't even allowed to have some of the attention because she would have to have all of it. Um, so pretty much there is more similarities between my sister and my mom than what either one of those two ever run and probably admit, which is probably why they didn't get along so well. Because they both wanted the attention and they both had to be right. And, well, uh, clearly they both couldn't get all the attention, or Even if they were both getting all the attention, then somebody else was still getting the attention other than them. So, just them, other than just them. So it wasn't okay. Um, so yeah, those are traits my sister and my mom very much share. The need for attention. Um, and manipulation as well. And yet, oddly, underneath it all, this sweet soul that you can't help but feel bad for them. Like, if they just had help to work through their issues and their ego and their pride, you'd have an amazing person. Both of them, you really would. But they're just too prideful and too egotistic and too um I guess you could say self-centered because they have to have all the attention. Um but yeah, as I said, when there were times I was having a hard day, like when our mom was uh getting on to me for making our brother mad just because he disagreed with something. I guess it made him mad, so in essence she thought I made him mad. Rather than tell that boy to have some self-control, she'd get mad at me. Rather than tell that boy to have some self-control over his anger and don't corner his sister at a corner, like literally cornering me, she would get mad at me. So she did have her favorites. And this was something me and my sister had noticed at a very young age. You know, at least somewhere around the times of pre-teenage, like, um, I could have been like 12 or 13 years old, which would have made her like 10, 11. So, yeah, she was 2 years younger than me. And, sometimes I remember us just talking and we're like, why does she just literally let them have everything they want? And why is it if we're not doing anything wrong and those two literally accuse us of doing what they do, it doesn't matter. It's already done set that our mom's convinced we're the one that did it and not them. So it was very difficult. So her and I did find a bond there. Um, just knowing that the other knew the truth and just knowing that the other knew how the other felt. Um, you know, and sometimes, when my brother would scream and yell at me and literally corner me, and my mom then would pretty much tag team with him and then scream at me in the corner. My sister would sometimes come in the room with me when I was finally allowed to go in the room. Uh, and she would say, I'm sorry. Yeah, I saw what he did. And you didn't do nothing wrong. You tried walking away, but he just chased you down. And so, her and I were kind of there for each other. So, I suspect her and my mom both, if they, I do suspect that they have a mental health issue. And I kind of suspect it's the same one because they have a lot of similarities. Um, so even though they can be manipulative and they can both be really nasty and mean, and I'm like, and demanding. I mean, there is no way for me to put enough emphasis on that of how demanding and nasty and mean they can be. Um, she probably has no idea how many times she's had her way, and my mom has no idea how much control she has in this house. But beneath all that controlling, snarky attitudes are times of a very loving person. Um, and I think with proper help, they both could find a balance. And being as I've said my sister, I think she's bipolar. Does that mean I think my mom's bipolar? I think there's a highly likely chance she is. Um, I mean, she has so much control, and I mean, she was abused, so she was not raised in a healthy environment to be able to have a balance with having bipolar. And then my sister, living in the same environment as me, clearly, I would say also did not have a healthy environment to be able to somewhat function in her bipolar. Um, but there are people I do know that have bipolar, and they do very well. And to my knowledge, each one of them has had counseling. They've had help. And I myself, having Asperger's and ADHD and anxiety, have had a counselor and has had help. So I could definitely say I definitely believe in seeking help. It helps so much. Um, I'm not really sure how much else details to get into my sister, other than just certain events that have gone by. I still remember her, just being very demanding of me. I mean, if she wanted to go somewhere or do something, we had to go do what she wanted to do. We could not go or ever do what I wanted to do at all. And she, another part of her that was very narcissistic and for attention was that she always bragged that everybody would get plastic surgery to get lips like hers, and they would always bleach their hair to get hair like hers, and they all wanted contacts to have eyes like hers, and they all would get boob jobs to get boobs as big as hers. So yeah, she definitely was very narcissistic. Um, I don't know, but I guess kind of like with my mom, I forgave a lot of her. I guess you could say bad behavior and bad attitude simply because I knew she could also be very loving, and I loved that part of her. And sometimes you just got to forgive people, especially if they have a disability and, they're just trying to work the best they know how to do with what they know how to do when they know how to do it. Um, so I would just forgive her because, you know, bipolar or not, she's learning to deal with issues, and she was my sister, and I just chose to love my sister is what I did. Kind of like a lot with my mom. She's got a lot of issues, but I chose to just love her anyway. Uh, but honestly, I think it's a lot to do with my mom and my sister's issues, and whatever mental disability they have, I think has a lot to do with why their relationship is strained. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were both bipolar. Uh, but I do think, maybe with some help, they might be able to learn to balance that out and at least be able to be presentable in front of each other and act like decent human beings somewhat. Uh, I don't know how far help would go, but I think it would help enough. Um, so yeah, I guess those are just some things about my sister and some traits about her. Um, and I think you tell that and maybe you can tell there's a lot of, character wise, a lot of resemblance to my mom. More than those two would ever want to admit to. Like, if you were to actually tell this to them, I think inwardly they would be wanting to strangle you. Like, if I were to confront either one of them with that, I'm pretty sure inwardly they'd want to be strangling me, and I think it would set them off like a not so pretty firework. It would be ugly. It would be very ugly. Um, because they each have an ego, and they have to be right and the other has to be wrong. So telling them that they're just as bad as the other that would be a hit to their ego, something they don't like and they wouldn't like at all. I mean, it would make them angry. Uh, but yeah, so that's a little bit about my sister. I know this really isn't as long as a lot of my other videos. Um, I guess I wasn't sure how much to really get into it. Uh, you know, I guess because it was just kind of simple. My sister's had some really bad moments, and all the same, she was a loving sister at the same time. So it was just kind of, she also had that personality that was all like nobody's allowed to be mean to her family but her. And I mean, she could get nasty and mean about it too. It was like, no, actually, that's not okay to be mean to your family. You should expect yourself to treat your family with as much respect and love as you expect others to treat them with. Because in my opinion, if you're doing that, you're not holding consequences for yourself. And you're not holding yourself as a respectable person. You're just holding yourself as an ego where you're holding others at a higher standard than yourself. That's my opinion toward people that are like, you can't mess with my family, but I can. I think that that's just, no offense, I find it absolutely revolting. I find it revolting because it's a lot by the standards that my family live. I mean, if somebody were to come at me, I definitely could see my mom and my baby sister, standing up for me. Um, and probably being all up in their face as bad as they've been up in mine. Because their ego being, because they're just being snooty, and then sometimes because I get sick of them being snooty, and then that hits their ego, and then they get angry with me. But if somebody treats me as badly as they do, then all of a sudden they're up in their face. um, so it's really that characteristic of, it's okay for me to do it, but it's not okay for anybody else to be mean. It's to my family. It's like, I think that that's absolutely revolting. If that's your family, then, and you would treat your friends with such respect and love that you actually fear losing your friend, why do you not do the same for your family? So I mean, no offense, but that's how I feel about my sister and my mom and my baby sister when they get like that. I actually find that behavior very revolting. If you love your family, then love them. You know, I I love my family, and I do not expect anybody to treat them better than I do. I don't. Um, if people get mad at them because of their just terrible behavior, admittedly, I don't really try to get in the middle of it because it was bad behavior, and I'm not going to, uh, you know, try to guard somebody's bad behavior, because that's how you create spoiled children. That's how you create a spoiled adult, all the same. Um, if you don't let them have consequences for their actions and face what it means when you're being an asshole to someone, then and you stand up for them even when you know they were the one being a bully, well, then you're telling them it's okay to be a bully, and you're always going to be there to defend those actions, and I'm not. But all the same, if my family didn't do anything wrong and somebody is getting up in their face, yeah, immediately I will shame you. I will shame you up and down. I will shame you so bad you're gonna want to change your name. uh, you know, because as much as don't, I'm not okay with my family bullying people. Equally, I'm not okay with other people being a bully. So yeah, my sister did have that characteristic that she would defend us, and I mean, she would get up in their face. I mean, as I said, she and my mom are so much alike. It's like that's her mini me, and she will never admit that. And my sister will never admit just how much like mom she is. But they're very much alike. Someone messes with her family, my sister will get all up in their face. uh, as does my mom. But all the same, they don't mind, you know, harassing and humiliating you as the family at the same time, or being demanding of you, um, taking advantage of you, and being verbally abusive at times. So, there's honestly just no other way to put this. Those two are so much alike. I mean, they're so much alike. Uh, I think they're both wounded and hurt though, and I think that they've let their hurt and their wounds out on each other. I think my mom has saw that she had a rebellious child and just lashed out at my sister. I think she took advantage of the fact that my sister was rebellious and used that as an opportunity to release all her pain on. Um, and that being said, and I think my sister's bipolar, so having all that lashed out on her and all that pain, even if she wasn't doing something wrong, maybe she was rebellious, but she wasn't always doing something wrong. She was just going to take that pain too and pretty much just mimic what my mom was doing, because I think they're a lot alike. I think they might both be bipolar. And I'm not certain about that, so please don't take my word for it that they are, because I don't know. I'm not a medical expert. I've just noticed some similarities. Um, so she took that pain too, and projected that pain back toward my mom that my mom had lashed out onto her. So the way I see it is they're both just in pain and both lashing out at each other. Um, and both are so much alike than what they would ever want to even admit. I mean saying that might be blasphemy to them, so it would probably be a good idea to never say it. Um, so yeah, it's really sad, but I love both of them. I guess that's really all I have to say about my sister for now. Um, and I know this video is not as long as the other ones. I guess I didn't feel like there was much to say, because, I mean, she's so much like my mom. There's not really much else to describe other than they're alike, and then, give a few examples as to how. But, yeah, that's about it. I mean, that's how they are. That's how she is, and I think they both need healing. I think they both need help. And just I don't expect those two will actually ever talk to each other again. Um, I might talk to my sister again though. I'm mostly just waiting for the right time and opportunity. She's on some family members' friends list on Facebook, so I know how to find her. It's not difficult. It's just right now would not be a wise decision. Because as I said, that my mom and my sister, they have to be right, and you know they both have to have you pick a side too. And my sister made that decision for me when she cut me off. Whose side I was on. That I never picked a side to begin with. I never have, and I never will. Um, and that's something I pretty much plan on doing when I get the opportunity and chance to. Is tell her I never picked a side, and I'd appreciate it if she not do that again. I'm definitely going to want an apology for her cutting me off like that, not once but twice, and getting angry with me when I never, got on to her about things mom and our baby sister was getting angry with her with. Uh, and I don't know how she's going to react. I can only hope that somewhere inside she has, love for me as a sister and can find it in herself to apologize and maybe work this out, our relationship as sisters. But being that her and mom are so much alike, I actually don't expect she's going to apologize, and I don't expect she's even going to try to reconnect. Um, As I said, those two, they want you to pick a side, and I don't. And if they see you talking to the other, to them, that's just you picking a side. Which is why I'm going to be very careful about when I message my sister to contact her. Because if I were to do it right now, my mom would take it as I'm picking a side. Rather than I'm done with those two having me pick a side when I'm not picking a side. I just want them in my life, and I just want to love them both, and I want this chaos and this drama to end, and I want people to act like adults. um, so I know they're not gonna start acting like adults, so I'm hoping that maybe they'll at least start acting like an adult around me. Um, so I'm not gonna expect my sister to contact my mom, and I'm not gonna ask my mom to contact my sister. I'm kind of just hoping that I can talk to them individually and be like, look, you two are not going to get along, but you're both my family, and I love you both, and I would like you to both be in my life. You don't have to talk to each other. You don't have to contact each other. You don't have to hang out. But I would appreciate you both to at least act like adults and grow up enough to um, not sit here and push me away or uh, cut me off simply because you hate the other person that bad. I'm asking your love to be something greater than your hate. I don't know how that's gonna work out though. I'm just gonna hope and that it all works out for the best. So that's another example as to why I say my sister is as bad as my mom. And they're both so much alike. It's if it wasn't real life and it didn't affect me so much personally, and it wasn't so dang hurtful. I mean, like if this was on um in a comical sense in a movie or something, it would be freaking hilarious how much alike they are because somebody would be making it funny. But when it's real and it's mean, it's not funny. And it's just sad. So yeah, those two are so much alike. Um, and it's sad. But yeah, I love them both, and that is my plans to contact her once I'm on my own. And no, I do not plan on doing this in secret. I don't keep secrets and lie. I plan on very much so being very open and honest and, having my mom know that, yeah, I'm contacting her. And these are the rules I'm setting down. And you two don't have to talk to each other. But I'm not picking sides between either one of you. Um, you two can keep living on with your problems. That's your problem. But I don't have to keep living with your problems. I guess you could say I choose me. After all this shit, I'm choosing me. Um, so I'm done with those two wanting me to pick a side, which I never picked. Uh, and no, I'm done. And I guess I am picking a side. I'm picking my side. Which I plan very much so to make very clear to my mom and my sister that, I'm done with their drama. I'm gonna pick my side now, and my side says there is no freaking side. My side says I love you both. My side says enough of this shit. My side says we're going to hang out and we're going to have fun. Clearly separately because you two can't get along in the same room. Um, but yeah, that's my plans. Uh, and maybe I'll contact my sister before this all goes down. Before I move out and all that, and get on my own. Because my boyfriend and I have talked about having a wedding, and to be honest, if there's a chance that she would be willing to be my sister again and not keep acting like some bitch, to me, uh, I would like to have her there. Um, if it, if it can't happen though, it can't happen. I guess that's life though. You kind of just have to go at each obstacle as it comes at you, and uh, sometimes you gotta take your time with them, and you can't rush through them. And You gotta properly plan how to get through it so that you don't end up tripping up in life. So yeah, I guess that's all I want to share in this video, that my mom and my sister are so much alike, and there's some things about my sister, and I guess also a hope that I have at a better chance at a relationship with both of them. uh, which I am not gonna promise or even guarantee for myself, because they are so much alike. I can't even expect that to happen. All I can do is hope. Um, so yeah, that's it now. I know this video was shorter than the others. It's guess there wasn't too much to say. Um, well, not as much to say as the others. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm done for now, and you have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and uh, goodbye now.